Welcome to episode 71, Evolvement, which, especially if you follow the closed captioning, you might notice is something I've been discussing throughout my blog, but in particular in the past few blog episodes. Internal joke. Okay, let's leave that for the next episode. People can change, although for some it requires an epiphany. I touch on this theme in my blog episodes 22 and 41. Internal joke. How ironic. A love and a hate episode. But most people don't need something as dramatic or traumatic as an epiphany to change. They don't need that much energy to change. They gain better understanding of available information and are able to cognizantly reassess an initial position. And so they evolve. Since on a personal level, I've evolved from when I started doing this blog, my blog has naturally also evolved. And how have I evolved? In many ways, some of which I find surprising even to myself. For example, I think I'm less prejudiced now than when I first started my blog. This should not be a surprise. Like I said in episode 70, I do not presume myself to be perfect. I feel that based on how we are influenced as we grow up, we all develop prejudices. I'm one of those who are on the path of evolution from certain negative prejudices. Internal joke. Evolution? You chicken. Use the word you want to use. Evolvement. It's a part because, internal joke, cliche alert, prejudices are deep and hard to root out. And observation shows it to be a journey where both the starting point and the current point are different for different people. Just think of how a heated argument can cause certain prejudiced words or actions to come from someone who considered themselves prejudice-free. And given two random persons, where one person starts on the path and currently is on the path are both different from where the other person starts and is. In the same vein, I've also become less judgmental. Viewed from another angle, this means I've become more appreciative of the diversity of human existence created by something I've grown more appreciative of, randomness. My evolvement has led me to become more humble and more open, and is reflected, I think, in my admitting in the last couple paragraphs to having personal prejudices that my own blog call out as being negative. On a totally different dimension, as far as evolvement, I am so much changed in my thinking in terms of how I view sports and the amount of time I spend watching sporting events from what I described in episode 9, the randomness game. Because, with respect to my television and computer viewing habits, I get less and less pleasure these days from watching live sports and more pleasure from watching movies and shows. The fall off in my viewing of sports comes from two issues. In the first instance, I've become increasingly turned off by the crassness of sports. Players constantly curse and spit at each other, at referees and at spectators. Spectators curse and harangue players with thrown up objects and racial epithets in person and online. The audience behavior in many sporting venues these days would probably remind an immortal of that exhibited in Roman Colosseums. Internal joke. Figure that one out. But the bottom line is that sports should be bringing people together, not causing so much hate and conflict. The second thing is something I've indulged in myself, but the amount of bets I see being placed on sporting events is becoming a turn-off. It's a huge and seemingly ever-growing volume. So many bets mean so much money, such that the other thing that grows is the temptation within some to try to defeat randomness. But many bets are also increasing the likelihood of misery for some, especially those with a gambling problem. and for their families and friends. Anyhow, getting back to my excessive viewing habits, I can advise that I watch a wide variety of shows. I follow a whole bunch of series on several networks, cable and non-premium, internal joke, free TV, Paul, as well as streaming. As a result, I spend a lot of leisure hours these days binge watching shows. But here's something to give you an idea of what's on my mind a lot these days. So, I was watching the last few episodes of season 1 of this HBO Max show called Generation and heard this question raised. Would you rather have consistently satisfactory but unexceptional sex with the love of your life or multiple profound orgasms with a complete stranger? I didn't have to fantasize which I'd prefer, since I realized immediately that for me the question was based on a false premise. For me, sex with the one I love would be consistently satisfactory because it would never be unexceptional. Another quote from the same show. Would you rather be able to change the past or the future just by imagining it? The implied answer, which to me is the real answer, is simple. Leave the past as the past and focus on the future. Get your evolvement going.